genel izleyici kitlesi için uygundur.
Saat Farkı'ndan merhabalar. Farklı ülkelerden, farklı bölgelerden konuklarla küresel ve bölgesel meselelere dair farklı perspektiflere yer veriyoruz. Dünyayı Ekotürk ekranında buluşturuyoruz bu programda. Bugün özel bir konuğumuz var. İstanbul'da şu anda bulunan Körfez İşbirliği Konseyi ve Türkiye Ekonomik Forumu kapsamında İstanbul'da bulunan Doktor Abdulaziz Sager, Suudi bir uzman, bölge üzerine çalışmaları olan, aynı zamanda Suudi Arabistan merkezli, Körfez genelinde ve Avrupa'da da oldukça etkin olan bir araştırma kuruluşu, Gulf Research Center, Körfez Araştırmaları Merkezi'nin kurucusu ve aynı zamanda başkanı. Bugün biraz bölge siyasetini, bölgedeki özellikle İsrail'in devam eden Gazze saldırıları ışığında son durumu, Körfez-Türkiye ilişkilerini konuşacağız. Dr. Abdulaziz, ahlan ve sahlan. Welcome to Istanbul and welcome to my show.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be with you in your show.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Dr. Abdulaziz, we have a lot to talk, of course, especially after October 7 and Israeli attacks, ongoing attacks on Gaza. We were witnessing a period of de-escalation in the region, actually, from the signing of Abraham Accords to rapprochement between regional countries in the region, including Saudi Arabia and Iran, and also Turkey, Egypt, and other countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia. So that era is, at least for now, interrupted following October 7, that area of de-escalation in the region. First of all, let's start with that. After October 7, what awaits the region after that de-escalation era? Do you think this ongoing escalation will further increase, and what will what is waiting for the region?
Well, it's a great question, but let me start by saying how deeply and sad we feel for the innocent people that have been killed, and for the children, for the women, for the old men, and for everybody, and also for destroying half of Gaza, unfortunately. Definitely, it was a surprise for everybody. Surprise for the Palestinian Authority, surprise for some of the leadership, even of Hamas, surprise for the Israeli, with all their smart intelligence, reconnaissance system, everything, that it was surprise. The period before 7th of October did witness the last 3 years a beginning of normalization between some countries in the region, including United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Sudan, Morocco, and so. And those countries, they were hoping by the normalization that this will lead to a peace between the Palestinian and the Israeli. Saudi Arabia's position was slightly different in that. Saudi Arabia, they said this is a sovereign decision for any country. They can decide whatever they feel it's good for their own. But from a Saudi perspective, their position was, first we need to reach a peace, then we normalize. The normalization, it is not the target. It's not the result is a normalization if we have a peace in the region. And the peace in the region should come with a sustainable, durable, fair agreement between the Palestinian and the Israeli. If that's happened, then normalization can take place. Unfortunately, with this new escalation and with the way how Israel have responded to the innocent people in Gaza, and the way how they went for a mass killing there, definitely it sent a different signal. And the different signal is, as your question, are we going to continue after that or no? I like, to draw from the history two things. One, in Egypt in 73, when they started the war with Israel, it resulted to a Camp David. And when Iraq occupied Kuwait, and there was a call for a global peace summit, that have resulted to Madrid and Oslo. So sometime after a big crisis, not necessarily that we will not see a new situation or a new agreement or something that can be. What is it? President Biden have said we cannot go back to prior to October 7th. He's right, because we don't know today what will happen in Gaza. Is it going to be under the Israeli management? Is it going to be under the Palestinian Authority management? Is it going to continue like is it going to be under international organization? We don't know. It's not yet clear, and always there is a confusing signal coming from different parties and different players there.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Abdulaziz, you touched upon the history. You reminded us of history. 73 especially, and at this point I would like to also ask you, because there were and still there are a lot of expectations from the GCC countries, from the regional countries, and there's let me tell you that, let me put it that way, there's a disappointment with the Arab countries, especially because in 73, during King Faisal's period, there was an oil embargo, and still there are lots of people who are or who were expecting from the countries, from the oil-producing countries, to put a similar reaction towards Israel. So there is, that's why also disappointment in the region, in Turkey also. How do you see the GCC Arab response to the Israeli assault on Gaza, do you think? And for instance, if it was the case in 73, the oil embargo against Israel and the US and the countries supporting Israel, why is not the case now, for instance?
I think we have learned the lessons that the embargo in 1973 have resulted to a massive negative, long-term negativity onto the region. Because this is why the oil producer country have decided not to politicalize a commercial product and a product that it is useful and important for development and for the people worldwide. Because you may benefit somebody, you may put some pressure in that one. Plus, the situation in 73 was different than today. In 73, we had two tools. The tools which was used at that time, the oil, because, again, it did not have the massive impact in the economic situation as of today. Second, all countries at that time did support the Palestinian rebellion, whether it was a PLO or other, to help them also to fight against the Israeli aggression against them. Today, I think the situation is different. Today, we have a modern world. We have a different military capability there. We have the Israeli under the full patronage, politically, security, intelligence, militarily, under the U.S. auspices, under the U.S. support. By having all this military capability in the Mediterranean, close to the Israeli border, it's a signal the U.S. is sending to the rest of the world and the other country, like, from the European country, whom they have decided to take that position, that we are there to go for whatever it takes. So, do we have a military capability to respond to them? No. Can we use oil today as a tools like what we did in 73? It cannot be. Because I'll give you an example. 20%, 67% of our oil goes to Asia. And Asia has nothing to do, with this, war or with the Israeli, with this situation. Third, what we can do today is to have a collective, first, a unified position, a collective effort through Arab League and OIC, the Organization of Islamic Countries, using countries also that have a strong relation to the West, and try to mobilize a bigger campaign to bring the public knowledge. The Israeli will only stop in two reasons. One, if they have a massive military losses, like what happened in 82 and during the Gaza and 2006 also what they did with that one. And second, if there is a public opinion, a very strong public opinion against that. Unfortunately, today in Israel, we see that because of the superiority and because of the international support and because of the both sides, the extreme right and the liberal, are in the same position, saying we need to get rid of Hamas. That is the common vision that they have. So today, in the Arab Muslim world, what are we left with is to have a mobilization of a high political mobilization, a massive media campaign to change public opinion, to use public opinion like what happened in the Vietnam War. If it wasn't the public opinion in the US, Kissinger would have not been able to negotiate in Paris the end of the Vietnam War. But the public opinion in the US was so strong, you see, against the continuation in the Vietnam War. So what we need today, we need to push more for a domestic public opinion in those countries whom they are unfairly supporting Israel, unjustly they are supporting Israel, to create that pressure to first to stop the war, to get all the humanitarian support and aid, to treat all the illness and the injured, that it's there in Gaza, and to stop this massive killing and bombarding.
Do you think Islamic and Arab countries in general, Muslim countries, are doing or have done enough, considering the fact that they were able to gather on the day of I think it was the 36th day of the assault, they gathered in Riyadh for the summit. When we look back in the future, do you think we will say that the Arab countries, the regional countries, Muslim countries have done enough, have done their best to stop this bloodshed, or not much?
What else can you do? Can you send the troop to fight there? Do you have a military capability that you can use it there? Can you have an open sky with the massive weapon that you can cross? I mean, you have seen an example, a war by proxy, the Iranian support of the Houthi. The Houthi did send some drone and ballistic missile crossing over Saudi Arabia, which was intercepted by the American forces there. So in another word, you still have a limited capability, to use that to go into a big war, at this stage. Even look at Hezbollah in Lebanon, they've learned, and Iran, by the way, they learned the lessons. Iran, they saw it when the American invaded Iraq in 2003. They don't want to have a repetition of that situation. And they learned the lessons also from Hamas today. They saw the response that the US came with the biggest military machine in support of the Israeli, to get rid of Hamas, so-called. But at the same time, they don't want to be involved in a war like this that can extend it, to their territory.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Abdulaziz, you also touched upon, but I want to talk more about this at this point, because having a good, normal relation with Israel was seen as a good thing also for Palestinians, and Mohammed bin Salman repeatedly said that also. We want to improve the lives of the Palestinians. This is the only condition. This is our only red line. So for most of the countries in the region, such as United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, who normalized their relations with Israel, it was one of the motivations, but Saudi Arabia, it is the only maybe motivation. So after this point, do you think, is it still on the agenda? Because there are some reports suggesting that this is maybe a small pause for the normalization talks for Saudi Arabia with Israel, but in the near future, it will still be possible. And do you think having normalized with Israel really helped the region, really helped the Palestinians since 2020 after the signing of the Abraham Accords, or Palestinian case was completely ignored till now?
No, it was not completely ignored, but I think those countries whom they have normalized with Israel, they thought, maybe they could be right, they could be wrong, but they thought by the normalization and having a direct access to the Israeli, talking to them directly, this can bring a better understanding to move toward peace. Now, whether they have been successful or not successful, that's another issue. But I don't think any one of those countries is neglecting the Palestinian interests or not taking into account the Palestinian interests, but also they have their own interests, which they need to serve for their own people, for their own constituent, which is important, which is assessing the threat assessment in the neighborhood and looking how that the threat possessed to them, and what do they need to do for that.
Mm-hmm. So what about the follow-up question? I mean, how do you see the future of Saudi-Israel normalization after this October 7? What will be the
I don't think it will be in the priority. I think Saudi Arabia will continue insisting on first having الحل العادل والدائم, justice and permanent, between the Palestinian and the Israeli? Are they going to go back to the two-state solution with some modification, or they're not going to go back to that, but then come up with another agreement? The OIC and the Arab League, both summit, have called for an international peace conference, and still based on the fair and justice for the Palestinian people.
So it is a very likely scenario. So it's not completely gone.
We cannot neglect that Israel is there, and they live as part of our geography. This is one. At the same time, the Palestinian can never get rid of the Israeli, and the Israeli can never get rid of the Palestinian. So this is a reality on the ground. What can we make the best out of that reality on the ground to contain any escalation, to try to have a harmonization to some extent in terms of economic relation, safety and security, understand? I mean, they share with us the Red Sea. And the importance of the Red Sea is for the whole globe. If we don't have a security in the Red Sea, how can you have a maritime security with all the vessels crossing between the Mediterranean and the rest of the world, and also from the Red Sea to the rest of the world? So there are a geopolitical interest for both to have a security and stability. So we cannot neglect that they're existent. We are fully condemning all what they have done against the innocent people, fully condemning everything that they have, the killing of the innocent and the destroying of the Gaza district there. But at the same time, we feel the response that has been from their side to what Hamas did. Hamas did a smart intelligence job. They were able to surprise them. They were able to achieve, something on that 7th of October. But did Hamas anticipated the level of retaliation from the Israeli to this extent? I don't know. We need to ask the, Qassam Izzuddin al-Qassam on the Hamas side to find out whether in their calculation, have they anticipated that far? Have they anticipated the rest of the Western world will stand and be with Israel to this extent? Have they realized that even at the Security Council resolution, we have not been able to get a decision when the Brazilian endorsed, the first, decision they want, or even, the Russia, which has been vetoed by the America. All of that calculation, honestly, I can't answer it. And, we need to have somebody from their side who can answer it better.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Abdulaziz, since you are in Turkey now, you're in Istanbul, and Turkey is an important also player in the region. Maybe I can ask you your take on Turkey's also position during this crisis. Turkey also has been trying to, President Erdogan has been very vocal about the Israeli assault on Gaza. How do you see Turkey's role playing here in the region, especially after the regional rapprochement between countries, Turkey, Egypt, Turkey, Saudi Arabia? And how is Turkey playing that role, you think?
Well, first, I'm very happy to see the rapprochement taking place. Mm-hmm. Turkey is a big country, is an important country, it's a neighborhood country, so it has a great value for us, and we have a great value also for Turkey. So I'm very happy to see the rapprochement, with the rest of the Gulf country have taken place, and normalization is back, and economic, development relation is taking place there. Second, I think Turkey always have tried to be balanced on the relation between their position in support of the Palestinian. They also hosted many of the Palestinian, people in Turkey here, including some of the political, figures from the Palestinian side. But also they have maintained also a reasonable relation, to Israel. In other words, that the direct link is there, the direct communication is there. Should they feel they can leverage that or use that, I think it's extremely important. And we're not expecting, again, from any country to go totally out of their way because of, they need to serve their own people and their own interests. And there might be a different opinion in this case from the people that they endorse or disendorse. But I think in the end, it is the Turkish people or the Turkish government can decide the best for their own country interest.
Now, do you think, Dr. Abdulaziz, those disagreements in the past are completely gone, or there is a risk of future disagreements if Turkey and other regional countries, and also GCC countries themselves, there is still a future possibility or a risk of escalation or disagreement? I'm asking this because there are still differences, of course, on views on Hamas, on Muslim Brotherhood, on several issues, but that era is over for now. But do you see any risk in the future? And if there is one risk or two risks, what are they for the countries, for the regional countries that have normalized their relations, improved their relations, that they can go back to the previous hostile times? What are those risks in your view, if there is any?
I doubted if we're going to see that hostile or we're going to see that, total big disagreement in that one, simply for two reasons. As I said, Turkey's position have balance between the Palestinian and the Israeli. They are in full support of the Palestinian and their right in the international arena, but at the same time, they never wanted to cut their relation to Israel. So I think maintaining that balance is extremely important, which Turkey will benefit out of it. But as long as there is a direct political connection between Turkey and the rest of the Gulf country, they can politically discuss the position between both sides and find the common area and use the leverage of each one's strength to the other. And that's very important.
So you are optimistic about the future in terms of the continuation of the good relations, let's say?
I am sure because it serves both interests. As I said in the beginning, we need Turkey, and Turkey, they need us also in the region. Turkey, it's a big country. It's a very powerful country. It has their own importance in the global arena. They are a member of the G20. They have an outstanding, achievement. And also the Gulf country can be of a great support. This is why we have been able to reach $22 billion so far on the trade relation, which can expand, and grow bigger between both sides.
My last question will be on maybe more, not regional, but more international, broader international relations. Do you think are there concerns about the credibility of the U.S., especially following its response to, or its full support to Israel? I'm asking this because in the global south, especially, there are many concerns. There is a big criticism towards the West, towards the United States, in terms of humanitarian law, international law, democracy, and all those assets that West has been promoting. So do you think, considering the US or the West in general handling of this crisis, what will be the implications for the regional countries, for the countries in the global south, do you think, in their view, in their perception of the West? Maybe there will be more close relations with China, with Russia. Do you think there will be less trust towards the US and the West after this, especially October 7 and the West's response to this ongoing crisis, do you think?
Let me answer it by the other way, which is our relation with China. It's a commercial trade relation, very interesting. With the Arab world is huge. With Saudi Arabia alone is more than $120 billion. So it's a buyer and seller relation. They import 20% of their needs of oil from a country like Saudi Arabia. So for us, it's a very important commercial partner there. But it did not move to the strategic level where they can provide a regional security or a protection, you see there. And the Chinese, they're not claiming that they wanted to play that role. With Russia, they're a producer of raw material, and we are a producer of raw material. They have oil and gas, we have oil and gas. They have mineral, we have mineral. The relation is important to benefit both in certain area like OPEC plus, like other area. But again, it's not really strategic relation where security architecture can be played with the existence of the Russian or without it. We go back now to the US. The US disappointment did not start today. It started during the time of President Obama when he said in Syria is a red line. That red line was never fulfilled by the American. We went to a Trump. Trump have allowed the Iranian attack on the Saudi critical oil facility, the drone issue, the vessels, the tankers, and there was no real response from the US at that time. So there was a big question on the people in the Gulf mind, are they still the same country that we trusted, that they can provide the security guarantor for us in the region or no, or there is a different there. They keep talking about disengagement, reducing their forces in the present, so, but now we see that they are back again. We see that the American forces in Syria, in Iraq, is repositioning themselves. Yes, they left Afghanistan without a notification, by a surprise and everything, but at the same time, that also raises the big question that the old 80 years relation in the region there, is it still the same country that we can trust, or domestic issues playing more important for them, or other territory, the Pacific security is more important for them? So there is a sort of uncertainty about the U.S. security role in the region there. Can that role be replaced easily? Not too easily, because again, you develop your military doctrine, you develop your training, you develop your military system, and so based on certain things. So it's going to take time. But the region is trying to increase their capability of military capability there, which is fine. It will take time. There's always a good saying in America. They're saying all politics is domestic politics. As long as you have the domestic with you, in your country, in support of your policies, normally this is a best line of protection for us. Are we in favor of a new Cold War era? No. Do we need that? No. We need to have a balance of power, and I don't think the country in the Gulf region are in favor of having what we call a new war era, a Cold War era at this stage. No.
Dr. Abdulaziz Sager, thank you very much. Shukran jazilan for your time.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me to be with you in this program.
Thank you. Evet, Dr. Abdulaziz Sager, Suudi Arabistan'ın önde gelen düşünürlerinden, araştırmacılarından. Gulf Research Center isimli bir düşünce kuruluşu, aynı zamanda Cidde merkezli, dünyada da epey etkin bir düşünce kuruluşu. Onun da kurucusu ve başkanı. Kendisini ağırladık, İstanbul'daydı, bir forum için gelmişti. Bölge üzerine konuştuk kendisiyle, özellikle İsrail'in Gazze'de devam eden saldırıları ışığında bölgenin geleceğini konuştuk. Başka bir programda tekrar görüşmek üzere, hoşça kalın.